Where in Delhi did you grow up, and where did you go to school and college?
So I grew up in this very seemingly very boring South Delhi, upbringing, family. But I had a very interesting background. Like my mom's Kashmiri and my dad's from Delhi. He's grown up in the old parts of Delhi, Chirag Delhi and Nizamuddin.
And did your mom live in Kashmir?
My mom lived in Kashmir. She was there till she moved to Delhi when she was doing her college, and my parents fell in love, and they had a very epic filmy romance where she got married to my father and then went back and told her family, that sort of a thing. It's pretty cool that way. So it was very interesting, while growing up, because I'd go to like a normal, regular South Delhi school, have really cool friends, do all the cool stuff. And then when I had to go for the weekends to visit my grandparents who lived in the Nizamuddin Basti, I had to wear a salwar kameez, I had to be a good girl, I had to be well behaved, I had to do my adabs properly. And then all summer vacations were in Kashmir because my grandparents were alive, my maternal grandparents.
And they lived in Srinagar?
Srinagar and also in Gurez. My mother's from a village actually.
Okay.
It took some 9 hours by bus and only public transport was allowed. So I still remember the 9-year-old me, wearing a salwar kameez, and I used to find it very uncomfortable, getting my head covered and all that, and traveling in a bus because private vehicles are not allowed. Because my grandparents were too old to travel, and we used to stop at Rajdhani. There's one mountain army checkpost, which is covered with like ice throughout the year. It was the most like incredibly adventurous journeys as a kid, because it was crazy that point of time in Kashmir.
That is so interesting. I had no idea that you had roots in Kashmir.
I still have family there. I go back. I'm very close to them. And it's very interesting, because politically also it was such a crazy time. Like I had cousins in my family who would say stuff like, "Oh, Indians and dogs go away," just to because you know how cousins fight, and it was a very stupid, kiddish thing to say.
Yeah.
But now when you look back, it was so interesting because we're all from the same family, and now also.
Yeah.
I just feel it's a part of my life from growing up, or I don't know, whatever, which is so different from, I don't know, kids my age.
I can imagine.
I grew up with the regular Punjabis in Delhi, and which is
who don't even know what's going on in Kashmir other than
who don't even know what's going on outside M Block GK1 market, which is okay. But I don't know. I guess from a very young age, it taught me and my younger brother to fit in everywhere.
What were your early film watching influences and experiences like?
Wow, it's very surprising, but I didn't have how a lot of people say we've been film buffs forever and all that. I was not really a film buff, to be very honest. There used to be a cinema hall where I grew up in Kalkaji. I was born there in South Delhi, called Paras. Theatre.
Paras is
It was a single screen theatre, so I remember very vividly watching Jurassic Park there, watching all the 90s Madhuri Dixit, Shah Rukh Khan, Hum Aapke Hain Kaun, those films were there. So that's
who did you go with?
I think my mum and my brother. We used to, the three of us were quite we get along famously. We like similar kind of things. We enjoyed similar passion. Like we loved South Indian food. My father runs a chain of Mughlai food restaurant. But we used to always, whenever we wanted to go out, step out to eat, we wanted to eat South Indian.
Now the only one the old one that's still functional, I think, is Sapna. Sapna is still in that area.
Correct. And Sapna also, I remember watching a lot of films.
Yeah.
Because I was then studying in Amar Colony. There was a tuition center out there, for your class 10th, this thing. Just to go bunk and watch films over there. But Paras is childhood cinema watching is Paras. And then we of course had a VCR at home. So we used to watch a lot of films. I remember we had Wizard of Oz and we had Sholay. And a couple of more animation, Tom and Jerry type things. So I used to watch them on loop. Then I memorized all the dialogues. So I know all the dialogues. I wouldn't call myself a film buff. In the sense, I would probably stay up at night and watch some films that on television because I had to get up early in the morning, so I was not allowed to watch movies till very late. And really random stuff. It could be like Back from the Future or Ted and Bill's Bogus Journey. Those are the kind of films I really like. Those really fantasy, sci-fi kind of films. Those were the films you enjoy.
Older sci-fi.
Those are, I guess all children enjoy. When they're growing up.
But the Delhi thing is to be not just obsessed with films, but also total obsession with Bollywood. It's like there's a lot of Bollywood craze in Delhi.
People are completely starstruck.
Yeah.
It's like I still remember having this really fun conversation with this friend of mine when I just moved to Bombay and I was doing advertisements, and they would be very keen because during every match break, they'd see me selling soap or a mobile phone or something, and they thought I'd arrived. They were like, you come back, you're gonna be like a celeb in like Delhi circle. And I was like, no, but that's not the point. That's not what I'm in it for. But yeah, Delhi, it's I don't know why, but there's this huge fascination for everything to do with Bollywood.
More than
and movies.
anywhere else. You would
No, but
actually.
I had a very simple upbringing that way. My parents were very particular. They wanted me to get an education. My dad's not very educated. He started. He's just I don't know what 8th pass or something, and
There wasn't that much emphasis on it, na, back then, as it
correct.
became
And he came
now.
from a really huge family. There were like 8 brothers, and he was the second eldest, and he had to really take care of the family business and all of that. So there was never really any real emphasis on his education.
Yeah.
But he's a very worldly wise man.
Yeah.
And whatever he's taught him, he's a self-taught man, and he's my inspiration in a lot of ways because I really feel for someone without lack of any formal education or whatever, he's really managed to set up a business and run it and run a whole family and all of that with so much of integrity.
Yeah.
That's something I hope I can take back from him. But so for me, it was never about movies were not a huge part of my growing up. There was too much of focus on family. Because I have a huge family.
Yeah.
We have 150 like immediate family members and education. Like my parents were very clear.
I was actually going to ask you this. What was the point? See, a lot of children grow up thinking, okay, maybe I want to be an actor. What was the point when you started taking it seriously? Like
When I was in college.
Seriously enough to tell your parents?
See, it happened very quickly for me, very suddenly for me. It's like I was in school, I was head girl, I was good in studies, I would play basketball, I would debate, I would do theatre also. There was no like passion, oh my god, I want to do this. I think college changed a lot of things for me because it really opened up me as a person. In school, I had a very sheltered upbringing. Like I can actually tell you, like all my like growing up years during school, I'd go to school, I'd come back. Everything was very structured. Everything was very sheltered. Like if I had to go somewhere, that I would go, drop me, pick me up. I'd go for some practice, drop back. Weekends were grandparents in Nizamuddin Basti. Summer holidays, 15 days we'd go somewhere, some hill station or whatever. But 15 days in that 1 month period, we had to go to Kashmir. Yeah. So I just those till class 12th, 10th or whatever, I had the whole roadmap sort of made. Like everything was just planned.
Yeah.
College changed a lot of things. Because the first time there was so much of chaos in my life. Like suddenly there was no structure to life anymore.
Yeah. And there were lots of possibilities.
And there were lots of possibilities, and there were endless possibilities. So I joined the film society. I was watching a lot of films. I was debating as well. I was doing theatre as well. But suddenly there was a lot more independence as an individual. Growing up as a Muslim girl in Delhi, who has a huge family, there are a lot of restrictions as per your time. Or I had a very conservative upbringing. My parents didn't want me to go out after dark. You had to go to a friend's house. There was a whole procedure to sort of ask for permission and to negotiate how much time you could go for, which also taught me how to lie at a very early age, because you can't always tell your parents the truth, right? Because you still need to do regular stuff and have fun, right? So things like that. But college opened up a lot of possibilities, and my interaction with the outside world really increased. And Sunday I was doing so much more than just studying or going for classes and lectures, and I think that. And that is the time I also joined a theatre group called Act 1.
You joined that in college only?
I joined that in college only. Suddenly I was drawn to the world of acting, into theatre, into a lot of things. Yeah. And I realized this is what I wanted to do. Like before that, I was just this person, I probably knew what I didn't want to do. Like, okay, this is this, I'm good at this, but this is not what I want to do. Yeah. Or I'm good at that, but this is not what I want to do. Like, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. There was no direction as far as that was concerned. And I don't know, the kind of person I am, because I blend in easily wherever I go, I found it easier to do a lot of things. Yeah. But I did not necessarily enjoy them.
So did you have the conversation in parts with your parents? Like you told them I want to do theatre now, or did you straight away tell them that I want to be an actor?
See, I think they saw it, that this was something I was really passionate about, and I was getting appreciation for it. Like when I do a play, I obviously call them for it, and they'd come and they'd read the review in the paper, or my college play, or the fact that I won some competition,
Yeah.
or we were traveling to cities to perform, and people were inviting us. So they obviously saw that it was something I was good at. They also saw that it was something I was really passionate about. So no, but you know how parents are, they think, oh, it's a hobby, it's a passing phase, you know how student life is, you know, like, and I was doing so many other things also. This was not the only thing. I was also heavily into student activism, and if there's some workshop happening, I had to go for it, or if someone's doing a rally or a protest march, I had to sort of, you know, I was one of those,
Yeah.
you know how
Yeah.
the Delhi university scene
Yeah.
is. So I was one of those kids who was all over the place. So they never really thought it was something I was taking seriously. I think the switch came is when a friend of mine who was working in Mumbai as an assistant director, he called me for an audition, and he said there's some audition happening, and you know why don't you test for it? And I remember in Leh, I was on a holiday with my folks. I said, yeah, let me come back and I'll come for like a weekend or something to Bombay. We'll have fun, we'll party, we'll go out, it'll be like a fun trip. And I obviously told them, I just have to go for some college work, and I obviously fibbed my way through.
You were still in college.
I was still in college. And I came to Mumbai, and of course I met this friend, I met the director of the film, and I tested for it. And it was a good indie sort of a film. And the next day the producers called me and said, you're on for the part. Can you move to Mumbai? And you know, we'll begin shooting in 2 months' time. And I was zapped. I was like, really? Like a Bollywood film? Like I'm going to be an actor. So I hadn't told my folks, so it was like another.
Yeah. But it always makes it easier when you have something and then you're telling them rather than telling
But
them
they thought I was being conned by people. They thought these are some fraudulent producers. They're like, why will someone offer a film to our daughter? Who is she? You know, it must be some crooks, because parents have this notion about the big bad word of Bollywood. And my folks, even now, like, you know, they have no idea about what I'm doing, what my brother's up to. They're just very happy that they see our pictures in the paper and we're doing well. We're not in want of any money.
I know.
They're just very happy with that. We could be cobblers, but as long as we're happy, you know, they'd be, you know, they'd be okay with it. Like my dad, the other day I introduced him to Irfan Khan. And I said, Dad, you know, he's my co-star. And Irfan, my father. And my dad's like, Hey, I've seen you somewhere. And I'm like, Dad, he's like a very famous actor. But I was like, no, I know, but I've still seen him somewhere. And I'm like, can you please give it up? And of course, Irfan was very gracious and sweet. He said, no, I think also I've met you somewhere. So, you know, all of that.
Yeah.
But that's how disconnected they are.
Yeah.
Like, they don't recognize people.
What was it? So, you know, this is a very unique term to our industry. You know, the struggling phase. Whether or not you're struggling, it's called the struggling phase. What was it like for you? And also, it's a very fascinating world, right? I mean, the whole thing of auditions and lots of people who want to be actors and going from one audition to the other. And I'm pretty sure you know, tons of bizarre stories.
It was scary. Like, I didn't know what had happened. Please understand, I'm a middle class, sheltered Muslim girl from Delhi. My father, half my family lives in Nizamuddin Basti. Half my family lives in Kashmir. My parents sent me a South Delhi school, which is very cool, and I go to like a regular girls' college, and I'm interacting with students from all over Delhi University. But I'm still that girl who comes back home and is protected, is not allowed to go out after 8, you know, is used to people talking to a particular way, you know, and suddenly you come to Mumbai, and I was one of the stubborn kids. Like my dad told me, you know, if you're moving here, I'll give you 1 year. Because I did, like, we used to argue, we used to chat, we used to, you know, every kind of emotional blackmail happened, and I finally told him, see, I will do this at some point in my life. You won't let me do it. I'll do it when I'm 40. I'll do it when I'm 60. But I will do it, but I'll always regret that you didn't let me do it when I wanted to, when I could have. And he obviously, my father, like my mother claims I have him around my little finger. So he obviously melted, said, fine, you know, go for 1 year. If it doesn't work out, you come back, do an MBA, study, go abroad, get married, do what you want to do. But do something like sensible.
Yeah.
You know, this is not making any sense to me. I don't know what world you're living in. You know, you think it's just upar asman, niche zameen, and it's just you. It doesn't work like that. And he probably was right from where he was coming. And I'm glad that I had sensible people. You know, they didn't say, "Acha, go."
Yeah.
They tried to tell me, and also you see, it was also important for me to know how important it was for me to be an actor.
Yeah.
You know, for me that was my struggle period. That was my period with my folks where I had to sort of really understand, is this really as important for
Yeah.
me to, to argue and to fight and to really sort of convince them in a way. But when I moved to Bombay, it was the loneliest periods of my life. Like, I'm a people's person. I like being around people. I've always been around people. But I just shut myself off for that 1 year because I was scared. I felt I had to prove a point back home. I felt I had to do a certain stature of work. Because, I had this idea of myself as an actor. And my parents come from a certain family. And I didn't want them to ever feel that, oh my God, what is she doing? And this is so tacky and this is so embarrassing. And all those things were just pressures. No one put them on me, but I just took them upon myself. And it was so bizarre because I would get up in the morning, I'd get dressed, and I'd just go and go for these auditions. And you have these auditions, and you know how it works. These tiny, dingy halls in some obscure places and lanes I hadn't even heard of. And I was new to Bombay, so I didn't even know. I lived in a PG. My dad told me, I'll get you a car, I'll get you a house. I want to struggle, and I want to prove it to myself that, you have these, you don't want to make it, I don't know, it's just this, kids have this stupid thing, like I had this whole thing, no, I don't want to take zyada paise from my father, I'm just going to take this much, I'm going to stay in a PG, I'm going to rough it out, I'm going to save money on autos, I'm going to get a dabba, I want to do it how it's done, how everyone does, because that's what you feel, how it's done, right? And I was depressed. I thought, what is this? Because I would go to these auditions and there'd be people who talk to you rudely and who would think that you're just some scum of the earth who's just crawled out from somewhere and they'll be like, "Acha, what's your name?" And they just sort of, I don't know, just be very uncouth. And you'd be like, why are they talking to me like this? And you'd be waiting in a room, like a tiny room with 40 people, and you've obviously dressed up and done your hair and your face is dripping because it's so bloody hot, and you go inside and you give some 2 lines to read. And they're so dismissive of you. There's not even, most people don't even give you that respect. That you've come and you've invested that time. And I understand because it's the bulk of numbers that they're also sort of overwhelmed with. But for that individual who's just moved and, it's just so weird. Thankfully, I also met a lot of nice people who believed in me, who helped me without any sort of, kickback or gain or whatever. They just helped me because they believed in me or they cared for me, and they still do, which I'm so thankful for, because I think those were the people who sort of really made it easier for me to stay here, or gave me some hope, or gave me some feeling that it's not so bleak and it's not so whatever. But again, I'm not trying to paint a very, but there were some very depressing days in that 1 year.
It's about that degree of detachment. If you can look at it with slight detachment, it'll be very funny. But if you feel like, oh my God, if you let it get to you, then it can also be really super depressing.
Correct.
Because it's like, oh my God, what is this nonsense?
The only remedy to get whatever is to just look at it with a pinch of salt and just be like, oh my God, how retarded was that conversation, or how retarded was that audition, or what were those people thinking, or what was I doing? Because I've also gone and I've given horrible auditions, and they've been places where they ask you retarded shit, like, dance karke dikhao. So without music, you're just dancing and someone's recording you, and you are thinking, why am I doing this? What is going on? But it's interesting because now when I meet the same people, some of them remember me. Most of them don't, because you were just like somebody in the crowd. But I remember them. And it's interesting, how that turnaround happens. So I have very fond memories, and I just think it's life. It's important to look at life in a very detached way, and just to see how it's sort of changing. Like my association with places like Aram Nagar used to be like one headache of a place. I used to hate. I was like, hey, again those little lanes and those dingy places, and it used to petrify me. Now when I come back here, there's another way I look at it. Possibly another 10 years, I'll look at it another way. So it's just that, I guess. You have to constantly change your association with these places, because.
And you were doing ads, right? You started with.
I started off with ads.
So that would have been a nice buffer, because you were at least making some money, and you were at least.
Well, the first ad I got paid for was $5,000.
Right. Okay. So
and they didn't give me my check for 2 months. I had to call them every day. I said, listen, I don't care for the money. I just want a check because it's my first ad that I've done. I'll give you 10,000 rupees. Just give me the 5,000 check. It was a good ad because it was with a big star. It was with Abhishek Bachchan and it was for a big mobile company and it was a big production house. So yeah, that was a
How
good,
many ads did you do?
quite a few ads. In fact, I worked with some of the best ad filmmakers and some of the biggest stars while I was just doing ads. I
Yeah.
worked with Amir,
And
with
Shah Rukh,
Shah Rukh
right?
and
Yeah.
Abhishek, and I worked with Pradeep Sarkar and
Yeah.
Sharida and a
Yeah.
whole lot of other big ad filmmakers. So in that sense, I've been very fortunate. I
Yeah.
feel because I would just go for these auditions like everybody else.
Yeah.
And I remember the first few ads, like I got paid like lousy money, 5 grand, 10 grand, 15 grand. But I always knew I was not in it for the money.
How long were you in Bombay before you started shooting for gangs?
About a year and a half, little more maybe.
And you, gangs came your way because you worked for an
I
ad
worked
with
in that.
Anurag
Yes.
as well, right?
Yes.
Which was with Amir and
Which is
Anurag.
Amir and Anurag.
Okay.
I
Tell
had
me
done an
something.
ad with Amir earlier. So they told me it's another Amir Khan ad, but it's Anurag Kashyap. I was like, I'll do it. Just tell me when I need to come. So yeah.
And you, did you audition for this role? And
I've auditioned for every movie I've done. I've auditioned for every ad that I've done. Every single. And they've not been easy auditions.
But I want to talk about your character, talk about Masina a little bit. What was your brief for the character and what did you bring to that character?
Masina. So, it's very surprising, but I did not read the script for Gangs of Wasseypur. I was not allowed to read the script for Gangs of Wasseypur. Two people, me and Piyush Mishra, Anurag Kashyap banned us from reading the script. It's a separate matter that I obviously sneaked the script from someone and I read it. And I was devastated because I said, there's no role. I said, there's nothing I'm doing in the film. Because it was possibly the least well etched out character.
Yeah.
Like for example, in the script it was written ki Faisal and Mohsina go to the market. That's it. Scene number whatever 42 is Faisal and Mohsina go to the market. Why do they go to the market? What happens in the market? Nothing. And I said, I don't want to read the script. And I was like, but I don't know what I'm doing in the film. And I was feeling ki, oh my god, am I going to be just like
Yeah.
an accessory, someone in the
Yeah.
back? What is going to
Yeah.
happen? I had no clue. But what he explained to me later, he's like, I didn't want you to over prepare for it. Because I knew being your first one, you would over prepare for it.
Yeah.
And you would be so excited, oh, I'm doing this film,
Yeah.
and he's like, and you would kill the spontaneity and the realness of the character. I just want this relationship between this man and this woman to be as real, as tangible as it can, and as spontaneous. So we didn't read the script. We did a workshop, but we didn't talk about the script. We spoke about ourselves.
Yeah.
I spoke about myself, my heartbreaks, my relationships, my struggle, my moving to Bombay, my getting the film.
Yeah.
Just me as a
Yeah.
person. Nawaz spoke about himself, Manoj spoke about himself, Richa spoke. So we just spoke about ourselves as people.
Yeah.
And we just realized that, we could look so dissimilar. We could be coming from different backgrounds, different social
Yeah.
realities, but we were just people.
Yeah.
And we had similar, experiences.
Yeah. What is the brief he gave you? He just said, okay, this is a girl, she's from this town. Kuch bhi. What did he, like, what was your brief and
She's this girl and she's Mohsina. She watches movies. She's in love with this man. And he's the only one she cares about in the world. I'm telling you. I'm honestly telling you. I still remember the first day of shoot. So I knew what the shot was. The shot was Faisal Khan is in jail and he's coming out. And the reception party is there and we're sort of...
You've
there
gone to pick him up and
pick him up and stuff. That was my first shot in the film. And that day I think something had happened and Anurag had to come back to Bombay for some work and he was expected to arrive back by afternoon. And that shot an assistant was supposed to take. And I was like really heartbroken. I was like, yaar, my first film and first shot. And the director's not going to be there. And I was just like getting ready, But somehow things got delayed and by the time we were about to roll, it was magic light and Anurag came back. And he said, oh, come. And he just told me, just do your own makeup. And I wanted to look tacky. I don't want it to look as if you've done makeup. It should look as if this girl has done her own makeup. So I understood a little bit, okay, so this is what we're doing. Then he gave me this fake pair of Ray-Bans. Wear this. And I wore it. This is your character. And I wore it and I looked at myself, he's like, this is your character. I said, okay. I don't know why I said okay, because I still didn't understand what was going on.
Yeah.
But I just looked at myself and said, But you know, when you see an image of yourself, it's also sometimes it's external to internal, sometimes it's internal to external.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you see that image, maybe it gives you a little
Yeah.
something
Well,
to work on.
Given that you had nothing.
And I was just there and we shot that scene and but that's how Mosina happened. You know,
Tell me about relating to Mosina.
So that's how Mosina happened. You know, she happened little by little. She didn't happen like there was no idea. Okay, this is what Mosina is gonna be, and this is what we're gonna sort of make. She just happened bit by bit. So what I related about her, actually everything. I guess when you play a character, you just stop fighting with yourself. You stop thinking, oh, she's not educated, so I am illiterate about a lot of things. You know, that's okay. So it's just that. She's in love with this man. Okay, I've been in love. Fair enough. She's ditzy. She's a little vain. I have been ditzy in situations. I'll behave like that or whatever. I can be vain. But I guess what's important is when you try to play a character, just stop fighting with yourself and that person.
Yeah.
Just allow.
Yeah.
And it is difficult at times because you also have these natural reactions to things.
Yeah.
For example, I would say so or actually, but Mosina can't say so or actually.
Yeah.
But those are things, those are vocabulary things that you have to fight.
Yeah.
If you just allow her to be and don't really question her too much, I think it just happens. It somehow just happens.
Yeah.
With Mosina, it just happened. Like her relationship with Faisal, it just happened. And actually, what also helped me in Gangs of Wasseypur was that Anurag does not follow the classical, mode. He shoots it in a very guerrilla sort of a way.
Yeah.
So as an actor, you're not worried about your angle or if I'm catching the light or not. I think that I'm learning now in my third or my fourth film.
Yeah.
In Gangs, I was just being free.
Yeah.
I didn't care, acha, mera left profile. Like people ask me today and I'm like, I don't know. I think they both look the same.
But the next two films you did were with complete newcomers. Sameer and, I mean not complete newcomers, but their first films at least. Kanan and Sameer. How were their processes different?
Sameer is very different. What I love about Sameer is that he picks up the small things in life. He looks at the small moments. He's not into something again, who'll go with a dhadang moment or he'll try and dramatize something just because, this is cinema and you need to. But he's a great storyteller because he'll pick up the small nuances that are there, which is a film like Love Shots at Chicken Cry. Like even today, people watch it on DVD and they write to me or they message or they write on Twitter and they love it because they find it so real. Like in that film, what we try to do is show Punjab in a way you've not seen it before.
Yeah.
For people, Punjab is loud clothes, loud makeup, loud dialogues, backslapping and all of that. People don't really know what Punjabi families are like, how they talk, how Punjabi women are. Everyone's a caricature.
Yeah.
And what Sameer consciously and violently tried to do is that he didn't want to make a caricature of his characters.
Yeah.
They were mad, they were quirky, they were all of that. But they were not caricatures of themselves, which is very important.
Yeah.
Possibly, if it was left to me, I would have played Harman like a very quirky, bubbly girl.
Yeah.
But he told me all the time, he's like, no. She has great passion, she has great fire, she has all of that. But she's not a caricature. She's very real. And when we went to Punjab, we obviously met a lot of people. I'd never been to Punjab before, though I grew up in Delhi.
Yeah.
But we went to Ludhiana, we shot in this place called Lalto. We went to that house, we met people over, then you realize that this is real Punjab. This is what we need to capture, this is what we need to get. So his process again was very different. He would just, like Anurag would just not brief me before a shot. But Sam would come before every shot and we'd have like a little moment. He's saying, and his only thing was just make it real, just feel it. Just go where she's going. Or just, because also, if you've seen the film, there's a lot of backstory.
Yeah.
Which just comes across in dialogue. You don't go into so many flash cuts. Acha, tum mujhe tab chhod ke gaye the, phir ye hua tha, this happened. So all of that is felt. It should be in the flicker of your eye or in a gesture or in a smile or something. That relationship should be sort of, should just unfold. Kanan, again, a very different process. Kanan is someone who I feel is such a great mind. And he's so passionate about films. To have a conversation with him to really know like how knowledgeable and how passionate he is about the movies. With him, it was very different because I spent the most amount of prep work on Ek Thi Dayan. Because I was also the newest person. And it is a very sort of strong character. It's got lots of shades. It's got this whole graph. So we didn't want to get that wrong. So I mean, sometimes we'd sit for hours, go over like each sort of scene, each line, sometimes each word. You know, and Kanan's Hindi is atrocious. So, you know, because he's a South Indian.
I also wanted to ask you, you know, the film begins with that disclaimer of it does not want to stereotype women as witches. There was some controversy about it. Now the thing is that it's a work of fiction. Okay, it's a novel that existed beforehand. But at the same time, this is a culture where even to date, women in UP and Bihar are branded witches, burned, hunted. Of course, it is up for debate whether a film like this can encourage that or justify that, or is it too removed from that? But how much does the politics of what you're portraying bother you?
I would not do something which would sort of propagate violence against women or stereotype them. But you know, I think there are two different things over here which we're mixing up. One is you're making a film for entertainment. You're making a film which is supposed to entertain you, and it's a story. It could be a story about Dians, it could be a story about magicians, it could be a story about aliens, it could be a story about, I don't know, a couple, a rom-com, an action film. I'm not saying if I'm showing a bad cop in a film that all cops are bad. Why are we saying that if I'm making a film about bad Dians, all women are Dians or all women are bad? You know, I feel we have a problem. We only want to show women as being good women or virtuous women. The moment we give them power, the moment we make them evil, we have a problem with that. We say, oh my God, you're stereotyping them and women are... But my problem is, why not? Isn't that also a sense of empowerment in a way? You know, we're not saying we're trying to change the way people think, but if you commit a crime in a village in Bihar against a woman and branded as a witch, you know, you have to change that mentality. You can't justify that crime by saying, oh, but I saw the film and I got influenced by that. It's a very stupid way of looking at it. And it's a very stupid way of us as a society to shrug that responsibility. Films are meant for entertainment. They are not upholders of morality. You cannot sort of blame them for everything. You know, but there is a responsibility. I'll come to that as well.
No, actually, the question I was asking you is not... I was asking you how you make that decision for yourself.
I make the decision because I try and pick my characters who are well-rounded. I would hate to play a cliche character who's only good or who's only evil. Like for example...
No, in terms of social responsibility, would you ask the director, okay, what is your vision? I need to understand what is your vision. Or would you be like, no, I don't care about anything else. I need to understand, no, I'm not playing a character or being a part of a film which I feel is... Do you have to justify it to yourself in your head? Do you feel like you have to get that justification from the director? I know it's just a couple of films, but how would you approach it?
You know what the intent is behind making that film. You always know as an actor.
Before you start,
You always know. And you are always allowed to ask questions and do discussions. So you always know what the intent is of the makers who are making that film. Once everyone's on the same page is when people sign on the dotted line. You know, if you're different... Whatever, it's a team effort at the end of the day. I can't be in a movie, I can't be in a film where people and make something out of it if you're not on the same page. It doesn't happen like that. It is a very collaborative, very sort of close-knit sort of an effort. So I always knew what the intent was. I always knew what my intent was. I knew I was doing a film because I'd never done a supernatural film. I wanted to work with Kanan. I wanted to work with Vishal Bhardwaj. I wanted to work with Ekta Kapoor. I wanted to work with the star cast that we had. They were all fabulous. So I knew we're not going to stereotype women. I mean, and for me it was interesting to play a character which had so many shades. You know, and it was so well rounded. I'm not just playing an evil woman. I'm not playing just a good woman. I'm not playing a rape victim. And you know, like, and we live in these cliches, unfortunately. Finally, I think we have such good writers and directors who are making and creating such well-rounded characters.
Complex characters.
Complex characters, real characters, tangible characters. You know, and I think what was happening earlier in writing, especially for female characters, is that everything would be just this one way of looking at things. She's upset, so she'll always be upset. She's happy, chirpy, so she'll always be happy, chirpy. But that doesn't happen in real life. You know, I'm the most talkative person on the planet, but when I go to someone's house, I will behave. You know, I'll be quiet, I'll take time to open up. I'm not going to be the same person. It doesn't happen, only retards do that.
Yeah.
And possibly,
Yeah.
you know, so
No, not even retards. Only Hindi film.
only Hindi
heroines,
film
you know, do
heroines
that.
were supposed to do that. You know, even if I'm dying, I'm going to have lip gloss on.
Yeah.
I'm dying.
Yeah.
It happens with me. Like, I've also had to fight with a lot of my, you know, I mean, actresses are always surrounded by this army of stylists and
Yeah.
hair and makeup people. So I remember this one scene in the film,
For Iktidaan.
for Iktidaan, I'm supposed to be in the hospital, and you know, my whole
Yeah.
face is like smashed, and I have like scars and prosthetic. And I had two set of people working on me. Of course, one was my regular team of
Yeah.
hair and makeup people, and the other was the prosthetic team. And obviously, my regular person who does the glamour makeup and the beauty makeup, he was like, "Oh my God, this is horrible, and you're looking." I'm like, "So that's good, right? Like people should look at me and go like, oh my God, poor thing.
Yeah.
She just got pushed by that
Yeah.
witch and she's gonna die. That's good, right?"
Yeah.
He's like, "No, just put some mascara." I was like, "I can't put mascara. I'm supposed to be dying." Like, I don't care if you're dying. Just put mascara. And I had to fight with my own makeup guy because I was like, "Listen, you know, I have grown up watching Hindi films and making fun of heroines dying with perfect
Yeah.
blonde hair.
Yeah.
I can't do that myself.
Yeah.
You know, I would laugh at myself.
Yeah.
So please, you
Yeah.
know, it's
Yeah.
anyway difficult enough.
Yeah.
Let's not complicate it by putting mascara.
Yeah. You know, what is your process? Are you more a studied actor or are you more a spontaneous actor? I know it doesn't have to be one or the other, but which way do you lean? Which is your comfort zone?
Honestly, it depends on who I'm working with. It really does. I have started working on films with like Love Shav. I started working on it 15 days before we were about to shoot. So I didn't have as much prep time. I've had a prep work of almost 4 months. Maybe
For Iktidaan.
For Iktidaan, more possibly.
Yeah, but I was asking more in terms of how much research would you do? For example, how much you need to know? How much you need to know from a director? Like, what is this person's backstory?
Everything,
What
everything.
is
Actors
like for
should
example,
actors should be mean to the director. They should grill them, call them at odd hours, trouble them. They should ask all their questions before. I do, and trouble them as much as you can before you go and shoot. But when you don't shoot, you should just
yeah.
Just
Which
trust
might be.
them.
Tell me something. Have you noticed what ends up affecting your performance? It may not be visible on camera, but you yourself as a person, have you noticed some things that end up affecting your performance? It could be anything. It could be the weather, but you know, have you noticed any things that end up?
Yes, I think it's important for you to be in an emotionally stable state. Like it does happen that you carry some of your, you could have had a fight with someone or an argument, or it could just be bad weather. It could be anything.
Yeah.
You know, because, but I always try and remind myself that, you know, no one will remember what you ate that day for lunch, or whether, you know, your car broke down, or whether you had an argument with your boyfriend. What they're going to remember is the time you're on screen.
Yeah.
So just make that count. And a lot of things happen. Like, it's so distracting on a film set. Like, initially, I would find the whole process of even, you know, like I'm trying to get into like a scene and it's an emotional thing, and someone's coming and fixing my hair, someone's doing touch up, and I'm just like, just stop touching me. You know, I'm trying to focus over here. And you realize film acting is so much about keeping your focus. You know, I took to meditation for a while after that because I realized I was just getting so distracted sometimes on a film set.
What I also want to ask you is how good, like, have you become a better critic of your own performance?
See, I'm very critical of my work. Very critical. Like, even in a scene, there are moments where, like, I'm not happy when I see myself because I know when I'm not real. And for me, the only thing that matters is being real.
Yeah.
And I know at this moment I didn't feel it. I just said it because there was a line.
Yeah.
And I'm critical because and no one knows that. No one will notice that because you were there and you felt it or you didn't feel it.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm
So,
quite
I mean,
critical.
the audience is watching it for 1.5 hours. They're watching it with popcorn. For them, it's a holistic thing. Unko
Correct.
ek line mil gayi, unko they love your performance or they love the film. They've had but you know it in a completely different way. You've done the same scene probably, you know,
Yeah.
30 times, seen it, dubbed, whatever. So it's a different analysis that you have. But how good a critic do you feel like you are? Or do you think you're too harsh on yourself? Or do you, like, have you found a balance where you feel like, yeah, I think now I'm like more objective about my own, well, you can't never be objective.
No, see, I tell you, it's very weird. Like, for example, you know, there's some so-called critics, and I've read the reviews about my work, and they don't talk about my acting. They probably get into like, oh, she's a little too chubby to be a mainstream heroine. But those are the so-called critics who get published,
no,
and they
forget
write
about those
blogs,
guys,
and people read them, and it affects public opinion. So therefore it's important. But I'm reading a review and I'm like, okay, so they've discussed about this, and that's all you noticed.
Yeah.
I mean, how myopic.
Yeah.
That's all you notice. Or I mean, it's for me, a critic writing about that I'm 4 kilos overweight is akin to a rickshaw wala saying, "Arey Imran, aaj ki picture mein ek hi kiss tha." You know, for me, it's the same. It's the same mentality, honestly. You know, and it's really absurd.
Yeah.
So, and I look at myself and I'm like, but I look fine.
Yeah.
But I have issues with things where I look at myself and I'm like, but that's not real.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling it.
Yeah.
I'm faking it. I'm just saying this line because it was written.
Yeah.
And I had to say it, and that was my mark, and I had to hit it. And my co-star was standing there, but oh shit, like I've messed it up.
But what do you think is your right now your biggest strength as an actor?
What's I don't know. I'm just fearless, I guess. You know, and like a role like Tamra, I saw this film with a director, and he said, you know, it's a role a lot of people would probably be a little afraid to do because it's a tricky one.
Yeah.
You know, it's not mainstream again. It is mainstream, but it's still not mainstream.
Yeah.
So, you know, people have all these ideas
Of how you should be conducting your
how
career.
you should conduct yourself, or the kind of roles you should be doing, or I want to be seen in this light, or this is who I am. I think in that sense, I'm pretty nebulous. Like I'm fearless. Like I feel I have no baggage. I have no grandfather whose legacy I need to live up to.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just, my father runs a kebab business in Delhi.
He's happy with
so
your
anything
doing,
that happens
so,
is great.
Yeah.
And for me, I need to be happy with the work that I'm doing. And I'm very happy with the work I'm doing. And for me, it's about doing something new. So I'm very fearless. Like I don't think of myself in terms of an image or a brand, which actors tend to do, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah.
You know, I'm maybe it's just too early for me to even think of these things, and I don't. I consciously don't.
Yeah.
Like I just, like for example, a lot of people told me, when I signed Gangs of Wasseypur, why are you doing Gangs of Wasseypur? It's got 300 actors in it. You're opposite Nawaz. Who is Nawazuddin Siddiqui?
Yeah.
Because obviously Nawaz wasn't Nawaz then. He was just an actor. Don't worry, you meet some people, I will introduce you. You will do one full mainstream heroine type role, rom-com. And I said, of course I'd love to do it.
Yeah.
I have nothing against, I love romantic comedy. I have grown up on a staple diet of romantic comedy. And I would love to do it. But this has come to me now. Why should I say no to it? Because it doesn't fit into the industry's understanding of how you should be launched.
Yeah.
I don't care for it.
Yeah.
And I believe the fearlessness, that irreverence that I have as an individual, it serves me well.
Yeah.
It keeps me happy.
Yeah.
You know, I would hate to be put in a box. I would hate to be like everyone else. I would just hate it. And I think
put yourself in a box and start to feel like मैं ये नहीं कर सकती, मैं वो नहीं कर सकती.
Because you know, like now I'm like, for example, I did an interview yesterday and they were like, oh, so now you're finally glamorous. And I'm like, finally glamorous मतलब क्या होता है? मतलब मैं कोई मर थोड़ी रही थी. मतलब I speak in English, I wear regular clothes.
Also, I thought Mohsina was very glamorous.
She was, but you know, she's this desi girl, and then you
Whatever,
did,
she was.
and
she
then you
was
did
the
Harman.
idea of.
They spoke Punjabi and Bhojpuri. You know, they were like very like they were salwar suits. When will you see you in dresses? And I'm just like, listen, I'm not insecure about wearing dresses or that I can't speak English. You can't take away who I am from me.
Yeah.
It's a character I'm playing, so I am not thinking of myself.
Yeah.
Just because I played Mohsina, I will not become Mohsina. Or if I'm playing Tamra, I will not become Tamra. I think, you know, in this country, what we need to do is understand that they're actors and they're characters you portray, and they're not the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I'm playing Tamra doesn't make me a witch.
Yeah.
I'm playing Mohsina doesn't make me get married to a gangster or whatever. I'm just saying.
I hope not.
I hope not, man.
How have you sifted through the praise that's coming your way? Which ones have you let matter, and which ones? No, you don't have to say which ones you haven't let matter, but some praise that you've allowed yourself to enjoy.
For me, the biggest compliment is someone tells me that you're watchable on screen, or because, you know, I'll tell you, ultimately what matters. It doesn't matter what you look like or what you wear. Of course, it's a visual medium, so you have to look nice in, you know, a certain way. But for me, it's important that the audience is connected to you.
Yeah.
It matters to me. Did you get the boy or not?
Yeah.
Did you kill the bad guy or not? It matters. Your objective as a character on screen becomes the audience's objective.
Yeah.
They want to see. They are connected to you.
Yeah.
You could be a waiter. You could be anybody.
Yeah.
But it matters to them what you think, what you feel.
And what happens to you.
What happens to you.
Yeah. Have you allowed yourself you're 3 films old, you've been an actor for a very long time, but you've been a star for a shorter period of time. Have you allowed yourself to indulge in that stardom experience?
Yeah, but you know, I love it. I have to admit, I love it. I find it very amusing how people treat actors.
Stars, you mean?
Stars. Okay.
हाँ.
I don't consider myself a star, but like whatever. But
वो तो मतलब whatever, that definition of star, na? That you are, of course,
but,
right?
but you know, I find very amusing how people treat stars. It's like they touch me nots. Like if, and you know, I am a very expressive person. So I'm like, I don't like this tea. Yeah. So everyone go crazy. Oh my gosh, she doesn't like this tea. And I'm just like, I'm sorry. I just expressed I don't like it. Like if you could change it, it'll be nice. But I don't want like a scandal that I didn't like the tea. Or if I don't like a film. Or I don't like a book. You know, so you have an opinion and you're used to talking a particular way. And I'm used to.
And there's a lot of weight on your opinion suddenly. Like,
yeah, suddenly.
She does not like that film.
And I find that so pressurizing. Like I'm just a person. I don't know anything. I don't know everything. I don't have a. Like people call me. So the government has put this new tax. What do you think? I don't know. You know, like I haven't even thought about it. You know, I mean, suddenly your opinion is so important. Your likes, dislikes are so important.
Yeah. But have you allowed yourself 5 minutes of enjoying it, or
no, not.
Or have you not had the time?
More than 5.
Yeah.
More than 5. Trust me. I love it. I love the adulation. You know, I love the admiration, the adulation. I love it when people like my work. I love it when people ask for pictures and autographs. I love all of it.
Yeah.
And also it's new. Maybe at some point people say, oh, it's very annoying. But I'm loving it because that's what you always wanted.
Yeah.
I love the look when people when they sort of just recognize. A lot of people just recognize you, but they're a little shy to approach you. I love all of it. I love all the perks that come with being famous and being popular. It does give you a lot of freedom in terms of what you can do, money, all of that. So yeah, I love all of it and I'm enjoying all of it. But I just, but there is another side to me also which likes being anonymous. Like I like switching off and then going for a little holiday somewhere where nobody knows me and I can just do random stuff. Like sometimes, you know, I go to like someone's house and, you know, I'm just being myself, but then everyone will start and you notice that they're noticing you. And that just makes you a little conscious. And it makes you behave like politely or quietly or just sort of...
Or act extra normal when you're like, why should I act extra normal?
Exactly.
What is your... You know, what is your relationship, how's your relationship with your own body and beauty changed over the last 4 or 5 years?
A lot actually. I grew up with all the insecurities that any person, any girl grows up with. I thought I had a boy card for the longest time ever. I have been tomboyish most of my life. You know, now I behave more like a lady in certain situations, not always, but I've grown up with boys. So there is a certain freeness that I'm used to and a certain way in which I'm used to sort of conducting myself in. I had short hair, I used to dress like a boy, I used to wear my brother's clothes all the time, even till college. I used to think I'm not very pretty. I've grown up thinking I'm not very attractive because I always had friends, Delhi girls, you know, they're always dressed up and, you know, it's always about boys and parties and that was never my scene, you know, because some people sort of... So I had all those issues, I thought I was fat, I thought I was ugly, I thought I was too boyish, I thought boys wouldn't like me because, you know, and you know, I was one of those a short girl who just think they're too smart and they're too cool to worry about boys. I was one of those, you know, and I thought I was, so I had, but I had a difficult time, like, you know, it's only, I guess, once I got acceptance as an actor, is when I also start, and it's kind of crazy because, you know, once I got acceptance as an actor is when and when all the compliments started coming in about how people thought I was beautiful and all of that. It took me a while, like, to even sort of, you know, like accept that because you've had body image issues and you've had issues about how you look and we all do. I thought like I had crooked teeth and, you know, I just random. I mean, these are just
I know
things.
what you mean. I know what you mean.
These are just things. I mean, you might not agree or agree, but these are things. These are phobias or these are things that you have in your head about yourself, and you realize that people don't see them, and it's only in your head. And you know, I guess being in Mumbai and being independent changed that for me a lot. I always felt that when I was with a larger group of people, with my family, I was always trying to hide. And I guess because of the upbringing, the conservative Muslim upbringing, I always didn't want to look attractive or didn't want to look pretty, because sexy girls are not nice girls.
Yeah.
You know, nice girls are always shy and coy and quiet, and
It's always safer to be
it's always
nice.
safer to be that, because you don't stick out, you don't stand out.
Yeah.
And I think moving to Mumbai, being independent, it definitely changed a lot of things. Getting my own house, getting my own car, you know, it gives you a certain amount of just being assured that it's okay, it's all right.
Yeah.
You know, that changed a lot. And it's kind of crazy because now I'm in a profession where everyone can say anything about me.
Yeah.
And just say it, because now I guess, you know, I'm in the public domain, so they can say what they want about me.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because now it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's so ironical.
Yeah. No, but what about fashion? Is that something that you enjoy, or is that something that you don't give a shit about?
I enjoy. It's also new for me. You know, I'm like
But see,
a tomboy
dressing up
right
and fashion
now.
are two very different things.
Completely.
Yeah.
But I'm also a tomboy who's in the process of this transformation. I'm in the middle of it as we're speaking.
Yeah.
So now suddenly I have these hair and makeup people and these stylists who want to work with me because my movies are doing well and they keep sending me their work, and photographers who want to click me. And I don't know what works, because for me it's all uncharted territory. You know, so I don't know if straight hair looks good on me. You know, I don't know if red hair will look good on me. I don't know, you know, if what.
But as long as you're having fun and not agonizing.
And that's because everyone thinks, okay, long hair is good for heroines, so we're gonna have long hair. This works for me, so I'm gonna safe dress like this. But it's about having fun end of the day, you know, and about experimenting. And I love experimenting, and I love being around people, you know. And let's try it out. Of course, I fear, like anybody else, I don't want to be written badly about. And there is this huge, I don't know, some underground fashion police, some who just are just out to just sort of claw you out or whatever. So I don't like being written badly about, you know. It's not nice to see a bad picture of you in a write-up saying, oh my god, what was she thinking, what was she wearing, you know. But I don't kill myself over it. My managers get more worried about it. Oh my god, what happened? And they'll fire my stylist.
But poor things,
but
their
that's their job.
Yeah,
that's their job. But yeah, I'll read it and I'll be like, yeah, we should fix it. We should not do this again. But then okay, step number 2. Now
if you take it seriously, because a lot of this fashion police is also really like, I don't think
very nasty.
No, more than nasty. God. I don't know if they have a sense of fashion either. I mean, some are like, I can understand.
They have their favorites. I think they have their favorites, and I think these really some depressed men and women who sit like, I picture them like this. Okay, whenever I read like a bad write-up, I'm like, So I went to this event like 2 hours ago, and it's already on net, and there's a whole write-up, and they've dissected my whole look. Some caustic, really depressed people who have no life, who have no friends. They're sipping coffee and have dark circles in some underground dingy basement and uploading my pictures, uploading my pictures and dissecting it.
How much of a career, how much do you feel your career could turn on how you look and present yourself? I mean, okay, beyond the basic thing, of course, you can't look. You know, you can't let yourself go and like, you know, in
I
some...
think it depends. It does depend a lot. Unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know. But see, it's about... there's one thing going for a red carpet appears, because then you know you have to put your best foot forward and you have to dress a particular way. Then there's something called a personal style. I might like grey slacks and oversized t-shirts, and that's just me. That's something I'm most comfortable in. But there is again this whole social space that we move around in, and we party in, and we associate in, and you know, all of that. And people do watch you, and they are watching you all the time. And somehow, like I said, it's not even the lay people, but even people from the industry, they're constantly judging on how you conduct yourself. Are you conducting yourself as a star or no? Are you conducting yourself as a fashionista or no? Are you conducting yourself as a next big thing or no? You know, and it boils down to clothes and hair and makeup and your watch you're wearing and the car you're driving and the cell phone you're carrying. Unfortunately, but it is true. Because these are these little signals that you send out, you know, on how people are sort of placing you in the social hierarchy. And I don't know the right or wrong of it, but it happens.
But the point is, you're constantly aware of a gaze. You're and you're acting for some gaze or the other.
And there is a gaze. There is a constant gaze. You cannot deny it. And I guess when you sign up for it, it's a part of it. You know, it's a part of the whole deal. You know, you will be subjected to 24 hours totally. People will know exactly what you're up to. It depends on you. whether you want to put your best foot forward all the time, you want to be under that scrutiny, you want to be the most fashionable actor or actress in town, or you don't care. But see, it does. But then you also have to prepare for the consequences. You know, because people will label you, because they're just dying to label you.
Yeah.
They're not happy till they've not labeled you.
Yeah.
You either have to be the next Madhuri Dixit, or you have to be the next Nutan, or you have to be the next Kareena Kapoor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
They're not happy till they haven't labeled you. They don't like vagueness. They don't like chaos.
You know, we were talking earlier about women and roles. A lot is changing for women, of course. The kind of roles that any of you guys are doing now, far cry from what women used to do. But is enough changing? Does it bother you sometimes that there are still not enough roles for women?
I'm very busy. So,
yeah.
You know, and I wouldn't say I'm spoiled for choices, but I have enough on my plate to really keep me busy.
Yeah.
You know, I have people who already are thinking of me or tweaking roles or writing for me. I find that a huge compliment.
Yeah.
You know, I signed Ekthi Dayan before Gangs of Wasseypur released. I've been told it doesn't happen normally. Because, like, I remember the cinema I grew up watching.
Yeah.
All of us have grown up watching. And I see the cinema now while I'm working. I hear stories about how things were and how things are. For me, it's important change is happening, and we are a part of that change. I can't sit back and not take responsibility, no matter I'm a very small part of the entire pool. But I think, you know, all of us are making that change happen.
Yeah.
You know, I was talking about Konkana the other day, or Kalki. I mean, for me, these women are as important as Vidya and Priyanka and all of them, because they're not conventional.
Yeah.
But they are constantly pushing the envelope. Someone like Vidya Palan.
Yeah.
I mean, their fashion police went after her. Everyone, I have so much respect and admiration for that woman, because she's the only commercially legit substance. I mean, you can. I mean, you just don't know how to put her in a box. She's everything.
Yeah.
Or even Priyanka Chopra.
Yeah.
She's glamorous, she's beautiful, she'll do a Sadhguru march, she'll look aged, she'll do whatever. And they are strong, independent women who are making these choices for themselves. You know, I'm a nobody. I came from nowhere. I've just dropped up and I have had acceptance.
Yeah.
I can't complain about anything.
Yeah.
You know, I am working with some of the best filmmakers.
Yeah.
And I feel honored and privileged, because I know any big star in the country today would want to work with them.
Yeah.
Happily.
Yeah.
And I am being chosen for films and interesting parts.
Yeah.
And it is overwhelming.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful and it's fascinating, because I feel I'm in the middle of things. You know, I go back home, my brother's also an actor. You know, we discuss our work. And
Do you guys stay in the same place?
we stay in the same place. And you know, he started off with the Yash Raj films, and he's doing Karan's short, and you know, I started off with Anurag Kashyap's film, and I'm doing Vishalji's, and you know, all of that. So we come back and we just discussing, you know, how you just sit and you discuss things, and it's so amazing, because for me, we live under the same roof, but everything's happening.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
you're also part of a very diverse range of cinema.
Exactly. And Saqib and me,
Yeah.
we very similar people. We have very similar likes and dislikes. We like similar kinds of films.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've grown up together watching the same kind of movies and being fans.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting that we have that range to pick
Yeah.
and choose from and work in
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah.
You know?
And that both of you, I mean, that both of you have made it in, like, you know, both of you have not come, this probably not happen unless you're a dynasty.
We're the brats. We're the brats who've come from out of town.
Have you also learnt by watching performances of other actors?
I have.
On screen?
I have.
Not just in front
I
of.
have, and I still do. Kate Winslet, Marion Cotillard, Ryan Gosling, Leonardo. I mean, these are, some actors I genuinely, these are like the contemporary actors I'm talking about, because it's also interesting for me to see their body of work as it's happening.
Yeah.
Like, for me, it's interesting what a Ryan Gosling.
It's exciting, right?
It's exciting because, you know, we are also living in similar times.
Yeah.
All the different industries, but similar times. So for me, it's very interesting to see Ryan Gosling's career path, because he's doing a Drive, he's doing a Blue Valentine, he's doing Lars and the Real Girl. He's doing all these films, and you know, and he's doing it today. He's not like because, you know, often when you look at earlier stars, I feel they had a different reality. They have a different social thing happening. So sometimes maybe,
and you get it, but you don't get it. Like it's
you get it, but you always feel like there was a different time.
Yeah.
The economics or the whatever was different, so it doesn't apply today. But someone like him, It's so fascinating to watch his, and his career path and the choices he's making. Or even Leonardo. I mean, I still feel after Titanic, he could have still been the heart.
Yeah,
and
he
whatever.
could have gone the
But look
yeah.
at a film like Django.
Yeah.
He plays a monster in that
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
A monster. But it's so amazing to see him, or even like a George Clooney,
Yeah.
Or a Matt Damon or a Ben Affleck, and just the kind of films that these guys are doing.
Yeah.
I love. I mean, this whole
Yeah.
these actors that are doing this kind of work because they're producing, they're
Yeah.
writing.
Yeah.
So these guys are very inspiring in that sense, because
Yeah.
I feel they're also contemporaries in a way.
Yeah.
But they're not looking at even the Hollywood formulaic way of doing things. They're constantly inventing ideas, pushing the envelope, directing, writing.
Okay, name a actor or an actress from any generation, dead or alive, who you'd like to have a conversation with, either about the life they led or their acting. It could purely be about their.
Any of the yesteryear stars from
Name you
the
have to name
Bollywood.
one.
So many.
So it doesn't have to be the
Like
only
a Parveen
person.
Babi, or Smita Patil, or any of these wild, reckless stars. Because
Yeah.
I just love the stories.
Yeah.
I really feel today's stars are also very boring.
I
Everyone's so
completely agree.
diplomatic and
Yeah.
politically correct and intelligent. I just felt that they live their lives with so much of passion and so much of flair.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah.
In a way they broke rules, they did crazy things, but there was so much of honesty and passion in what they were doing. I
Yeah.
find people today just a little more, I don't know, proper and maybe a little more artificial, and they want to be always right and not say the wrong things.
Yeah.
I find that very fascinating. I just want to know what would tick them,
Yeah.
or the choices that they made, or the affairs that they had, or the torrid relationship. Just everything.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like a more exciting time to live in.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. It's
And I
something that-
love the old Bollywood stories. I love them.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to come back to a question of this whole new Bollywood thing, which you are a part of. In the Vishal, Anurag, Tigmanshu thing, they're also making it's very exciting, because it's like what it was when Weinstein and when Sex Lies and Videotape came. It's that part of the industry for us, and you're there. You're part of that. You called it the gangs of Aramnagar. I was reading in one of your interviews, which I thought was quite funny. And yet it's a small, intimate group. What is, as an insider, what is the energy now? Because the energy that's there now will not be when Tarantino becomes mainstream. that whole thing doesn't remain, right? So you're in that very unique point when it's all sort of just happening, where Gangs of Wasseypur is going to Cannes, and where there's this whole fermentation. I don't know if you'll have any observations, because you're also right in the thick of it, but if you have any.
Well, we were shooting Gangs of Wasseypur, and I think Udaan had gotten a lot of awards that year. And Anurag was very happy, and he's like, Udaan won this and Udaan won that. And I believe Dabang also released that and also won a lot of money and some award as well. And he's like, and he was really happy, and of course because one was his friend and partner and brother, and he was very excited about how the film was shaping up. So like, now who you will fight with?
Yeah.
And we were pulling his leg, but now there's no one left to fight with. Now you're the new mainstream. So I don't really know. I think what's always exciting is always to, I guess, keep agitating. Is always to keep pushing things. Someone once said that I'll always be the opposition. No matter who the government is. If I'm a leftist and the left government comes, I'm going to oppose them as well. Because that's the only way in which you truly bring about change and you truly keep evolving. I guess complacency, whether it's for the newer lot or the new wave or whatever you want to call it, or the existing whatever, is death. You can't say this is it, because there's no it. There can be no it. If you had the Sex Lies and Videotape, then you have this other new breed thing that's happening right now, and it's very hard to right now sort of put a finger and say, okay, this is what's happening. But it's exciting. People know something is happening. You can just sense it. This is a very, it's like a taste in your mouth. Sometimes you don't really know whether it's sweet or salty or it's sour.
Tell me something, is Bombay home now, or do you still long to live in Delhi?
Bombay is home. I don't think I can live in any other city in this country apart from Bombay. There is a lot that Bombay has, which is so beautiful and so unique. A sense of independence, a sense of security, especially for a girl. I don't think I would ever like have rented out a place on my own. When I first came to Bombay, I still remember I rented out a place. I bought a mattress and a bottle of water. As I'm going to live, this is my house now. My friends were like scared, like, how can you live alone? And I'm not used to living alone. I had never lived alone before.
But Bombay makes you feel like it's possible.
It is possible.
Okay. You know, your Twitter profile says that you like to write. What do you like to write?
Oh, I should change that now actually. I haven't written in a really long time, but I used to. Mostly for myself.
What? Like
Anything, short stories, poetry. I've even written some scripts. Chota-mota. I've even made one of them into like a short film with a friend of mine. I'd written like a short story a long time back, and then this friend of mine is an adult filmmaker now. But we both were starting out and had no work. And those were the struggling days in Bombay. And we used to get really bored and sit in coffee shops and be like, nothing is happening. And you know, he was an assistant director then, and I was like, his name is Vivek Das Chaudhary. He's just started his first film. A week back he's shooting in Bombay, in Delhi. So we used to just sit and be like, okay, what the hell do we do? So we got together a little bit of money from here and there. He had, got a friend's camera. Someone gave us some stock. We shot it on film. So did things like that, and then a editor was a friend, so pulled that in. So we had, so it was just like a project. Like we haven't even showed the film to too many people. But it's something we're very proud of because, now all of us are doing something in our lives. Yeah. I mean, there was another girl with me in the film. She won the national award this year. Usha Jadhav. Vivek has just started his film. The camera person of the film is a huge cameraman, in ad films right now. I think he's also about to start his first film, Tapan Basu. So it's very interesting for us because we were just friends. We should just hang out and not have any work to do and faff around. So I wrote a story. I acted in it also. Got another girl to act in it. Had no money. Just got a camera. Went to town somewhere. Shot near the station. Things like that. So I like doing things like that.
And what about reading? Is that something that you used to do more of, or do now more of?
I used to obviously do it more often. I have a decent sized library at home. I read anything. I just pick up something.
But are there any writers that you keep going back to?
I like reading autobiographies. I find them most interesting. I guess primarily because most of them are so similar. If you actually remove all the sheen and the facts and the figures, they're very similar. It's about people with passion, with drive, with no matter what the odds. It could be an illness, it could be a broken family, it could be alcoholism, depression, anything. But and it's always about I don't know, your spirit. And I find that so fascinating, whether you read a political autobiography or an athlete or anybody, and it's so interesting. I find autobiographies at the moment very fascinating. But they keep changing.
What do you think are the modern day challenges of a man-woman relationship for our generation, irrespective of whether you're an
actor or not?
I guess in urban India, I mean, things will be very different in rural India, but
a lot. Just the way we date, we woo, it's very different. I guess because we're a practical generation, a lot has to do
also
with
the way
status.
the men are changing.
Also with the way women are changing faster than men. Suddenly, we're not just in the traditional roles. We are far more well-read and well-traveled. We don't have so many morality issues associated anymore, and men probably don't know how to deal with it. A lot of men can't deal with single, independent, free-thinking, cosmopolitan women. Suddenly, it's just too much for them to deal with, and I don't blame them. Because there is no precedent for them to look at and sort of get hope or inspiration or just to know how to deal with it. And also, I guess women also don't know what they really want.
That's a very defining feature of our generation.
I mean, when I was 19, I wanted to just get married and have kids. I thought I was in love with this guy, and I thought this was it, and I wanted to get married and have children. I was 19, and now when I look back, I was like, oh my God, what was I thinking? What is wrong with me? What the hell do you know when you're 19? But I guess but now I don't know. Like today, my career is the most important thing. I'm not in a relationship. I'm not in love, but would that have been better? I don't know. Maybe.
No, I think it's also about what we want, because it's also the generation we also grew up on. loving Shah Rukh Khan in Dar.
Huh.
So we want
the mad passion. Yeah, but I'm just saying I like somebody I can just be with. You know, I don't need to pretend, and I still feel, despite all the practicality that I have acquired and how sensible I have become, that I'm not afraid to show someone my real side.
See, that's different. That's different. And letting yourself go and be crazy in love. Would you allow yourself to be crazy in love?
You have to find the right guy. See, that's the tricky part. Because even though if you may, the other person is not always.
No, what if the other person was not? Would you allow yourself to be in a one-sided, crazy, passionate?
No.
Yeah.
No.
I guess not.
No. 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 It's too traumatic.
But is it worse now that you have a very, like, with your relationships being written about, or non-relationships being written about, or the scrutiny, does it get worse, or is it actually the same? The challenges of dating remain the same?
It is worse because people think that because you're an actor, you're a commodity. You're not a person. They can write what they want about you.
No, but what about
you don't have
dating?
A family, you don't have relationships.
Yeah, but how does dating become more difficult?
It does become more difficult because like I said before, tabloids think there's far more interesting stuff happening in your life than is actually happening.
Yeah.
That's one part of it. Then
thank God.
well, yeah. But it's always like, I'm having too much fun. I'm partying every night.
Yeah.
Not.
Yeah.
But it is difficult. Like I'll tell you the peculiar situation I am in. I'm new in this town, so I'm a new girl in that sense. The friends I have or that I've made are all work related. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have school friends or college friends that I grew up with. All my friends are back home. When I go back home, they are leading their normal lives.
Yeah.
When I meet boys in Delhi, they're just enamored by the fact that you're an actress.
Yeah.
So you don't know whether someone really likes you, or they just want to be seen with you.
Yeah.
Or they want to go back and say, oh, you know what, I went out for coffee with her, or we went for a date or something. So you don't really know.
Yeah.
You come here, it's different because all the people I'll meet are work related. So even if I have to be in a relationship, it'll have to be with someone from my circle of people. And I guess like even if I'm talking to someone, or if we're about to start something or not or whatever, there's so much of chatter about it.
Yeah.
So there's no normal thing that can happen. Like for example, if I like a guy and I'm at a party and I'm talking to him and like we're just talking and getting to know each other because that's how people get to know each other, right? And 20 people are just looking at you. And even before anything's happened, they have imagined everything.
Yeah.
So you're just like,
which can also be terribly embarrassing.
And probably just nip in the bud. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the good thing also is that if you can keep your sanity, if you can be a little level-headed about it, you always can tell the difference between real affection and not.
That you can.
That you always can.
Yeah. What is it that you're looking forward to most in life right
My
now?
work.
Okay, if you could control it, how would your life play out?
I don't want to control it.
For a lark. Okay, so then basically you're saying that you would want it to be full of unexpected turns and surprises.
I am the mad girl from out of town. I'm the irreverent girl.
And you want it to stay that way?
I want to stay that way. I don't want so much control. I don't know. I wouldn't know what to do with it.
Do you long for the structure that you grew up with?
No, I don't. I like the chaos I'm in right now. It keeps me excited. Like it keeps me on my toes. Because right now I feel there's just these endless possibilities.
Yeah.
I'm like a child in a candy store.
Yeah.
And everything is so bright and so colorful and so inviting. And I don't know what I really want. I don't know what I really want.
And it's okay.
But I want everything.
Yeah, and it's okay.
And everything is attractive and it's okay not to know. I just want to look around, see what's going on and then maybe decide or not. I don't know how long I'll be here. I don't know how long my career will last. But I'm not even worried about it. I'm a girl who's here from out of town and she's new and she's meeting all these people and she's getting to do what any girl would want to do and I'm just having fun. How long was this? I'm really curious.
I don't know. Half the ship has deserted us. But
Yeah,
how long was
gone.
it?
Dude, I wasn't that boring.